All right, here we go. This is so ghetto. It's all good. All right, I got my socks on, but anyway. Hey guys, Ray here, the gray-haired guy in a gi. It's Canada Day. What better way to spend with Canada's most decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete in a gi, right? You always correct me, in a gi. Jake MacKenzie. We're here at a school in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And this is a ghetto setup, but this is what we're doing. Jake, welcome.
Thank you very much,
Welcome to your own school.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a script. There's so many things I want to chat with you about, especially when it relates to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, martial arts and stuff. But let's talk about right now what you're doing currently. Tell me about your school.
We're on Lady Hammond Road, Halifax. We've been open for about 3 years. We've been me and my wife, we've been running the school, just trying to develop athletes here, and then just anybody that wants to learn Jiu-Jitsu as a hobby. Really, like, I think a lot of people, when they come into my gym, they think that, you know, we're really focused on just like producing competitors here, and that is something that we are interested in. But for me, I think everybody has their own jiu-jitsu journey. So like, I'm really excited to teach people that are hobbyists, people that want to get in shape, women that want to learn for self-defense. And we have a big kids program too, and me and my wife teach all the kids classes. You know,
oh, wow.
A lot of times, like, the kids classes are delegated to like either lower belts or different people. A lot of times, and I have a really big passion for teaching the kids. So for me, it's been awesome having the gym and running with my wife, and she's done an amazing job as one of the coaches as well. So
yeah, well, I see a lot of these medals. I think a lot belong to her.
A lot of good portion are hers too, right?
Yeah. I was speaking, getting off topic. I talk to your dad a lot.
Sure.
He messages me quite often, and we just have quick chats. And one of the things he said was, "Look at all the medals that she won. Make sure you see them later."
Phenomenal.
And I'm
competitor.
looking, and maybe we'll get her later. Obviously some of those are yours, but most of those are hers.
So these ones on this wall are all mine.
Okay.
Here, these are all mine.
Yeah.
And then this wall here are all hers. And
okay, there we go.
She's got more that she's got to put up too. So I have another 2 that I'm going to put here. So I'm going to make this wall the same as this one, and then this is her wall, and we're going to close this wall off for her. But she's a phenomenal competitor.
No question.
Much more talented than me.
Okay.
Like, I have a lot more time at jiu-jitsu than she does, and I think I put in a lot more hours. But she's just like a natural talent, natural competitor.
Right.
Really smart. Picked up jiu-jitsu very easily. Best student that I've ever had. So
just amazing for Atlanta, Canada, to have that type of females here.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a lot of females training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not as much as maybe Toronto or obviously California and all that stuff. But to have her level and that level of talent is just helps the Maritimes, helps Atlanta, Canada.
I think too, for me, like, as a school owner, I think it. If you're a girl coming in and like one of the owners of the school, one of the head instructors of the school is a woman, it just makes you feel comfortable right away, right? So we have a pretty good group of girls here too, and it's been going great so far.
Awesome. Oh yeah, this episode is represented by Gophers, Grapplers Over 50.
Cool, I like
Sponsor us. They don't sponsor us anyway. Now, my little 200-person YouTube channel, I'm actually mostly do it for myself because I love talking martial arts, and I love talking to such experienced people who do martial arts. So with that being said, let's hit you up with the history question. Are you allowed to give away your age?
Oh yeah, I'll be 41 in October. 41 right now.
Oh, I wish. But you started originally. You didn't start in karate. I always joke with people about that, but
I did start in karate.
You did start karate?
I did Shotokan karate
no
before
way.
I did jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did
Down in Truro?
But I failed the test. I told somebody this the other day. They're like, "Coach, did you do any other like martial arts beforehand?" And Shotokan karate was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
And I failed the yellow belt test because I didn't know my lefts from my rights. So when we were doing the kata, everybody, like, they would turn left, I would turn right.
Of course.
Yeah, so I didn't get the yellow belt.
What were you, like 7, 6, 7?
A little
8?
bit, maybe like 10.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe I was like 8 or 9.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the first thing I started in.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Because I often ask that for people who are very involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if they did anything else. Some people do, some people don't. But that's very interesting. So you're from Truro originally.
Yeah, so I'm from Truro originally. So actually, I was born in Princeport, Nova Scotia, which is like a really, like, as country as you can get.
Okay.
Like, dirt roads. I don't know what the population would be. It would definitely be probably like under 50 people.
Okay.
Right? And then I lived there until I was like maybe, I think, 6 years old, and then we moved to Truro, and then I lived in Truro from the time I was like 6 till I was 18.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, what a lot of people in Canada especially don't know about the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We can never track down who was the first person to do BJJ in Canada, but we do know one of the first people was Chuck Sproul.
100%.
And he was one of the first people, and again, I have an interview with him, it's on there, we could talk about him forever, but he was one of the first people to travel from Canada to go to Brazil, train with the Gracies, Carlos Gracie, everybody, Carlos Gracie Jr., sorry, and bring Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here, but that's kind of where you got your start.
100%.
So tell me that story, like whatever you want to put in there.
Well, it's funny, I told this story the other day here in the gym to one of my students. They were like, oh, how did you get involved with Jiu-Jitsu? And my dad was the one that got me into Jiu-Jitsu, right? So he was the one that really told me that I should do this. And it's funny because I had kind of like, I'd always grown up watching boxing with my dad. We would watch like Tuesday night fights, Friday night fights with Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
So I followed like boxing in the 90s and the early 2000s. I could tell you all the champions of the weight divisions. Like I really enjoyed watching it, right? And it was something my dad was into. So I told my dad, I was like, oh, I think I want to start doing boxing, right? And my dad went to the boxing club in Truro. And at that point, I think you would pay for the full year. And so my dad went to go pay the guy for the full year. And there was like a sheet or something and asked you if you had any like previous like martial arts training. And my dad, I had done the Shotokan karate, right? So my dad was just honest with the guy and told him that. And the guy was like, oh, well, he's got to wait like a year to be able to do boxing. I guess there was like some rule in boxing in Nova Scotia. They were scared you were going to kick a kid by accident or something. And my dad's like, he's never sparred or anything. Like, I don't think he knows how to kick, right? And they're like, no, well, the rules are the rules. And so I didn't go down the boxing path. And soon afterwards, Chuck opened up the Gracie Baja, the school in Truro. And my dad came home one day and he had kind of heard through the grapevines that this was going to happen, that one of the Gracies was going to be here. And we'd watched UFC like 1 and 2 and maybe 3. And my dad was like, you should do this. And so he's the one that like planted the seed.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I went to jiu-jitsu the first time and I didn't really like know what was going on. But Marcio Fatoza, who was the current world champion at the time, which is crazy that we had him and Carlos Gracie
Wow, that's
Jr.
a whole story in itself, but
you know, ADCC champion, 3-time world champion, one of the greatest ever at lightweight, which is one of the hardest divisions.
Here in Nova Scotia at, what was it, 97?
97.
97. Oh my
97.
God.
So I was 12 when I started. So I started in the summer of 97, and I turned 13 in October, because my birthday's in October.
Now, and they were here before that, right? Like
they had come. I think that was the first time the two of them were here, but they were here for I think a couple of months, maybe before the school was open.
Right.
But Chuck had brought multiple people down.
Yeah.
Chuck had brought down Matt Serra, I think Nick Serra.
Yeah.
He had brought down a couple of guys from Henzo's. He had made multiple trips.
Yeah.
You know.
And we're talking early 90s, like 94, 95, I think. I remember
I think that's when he got started.
Right.
You know.
And then he started bringing people in like maybe 95, 96 or something. But it's incredible for history for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Canada, just to know that.
Sure.
Because there was really, that I've researched, nobody really, Marco Soares was out in Vancouver.
Sure.
At some point, but just to have that here, it's just incredible. So I'm sorry to get back to your story.
Yeah, so my dad brought me to the gym. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really know what jiu-jitsu was. Like I saw these guys rolling around on the ground. I was like, okay, like what's this, you know? But I had a really good experience with Marcio.
Right.
Marcio came up to me and he just seemed like such a cool dude, and he like started asking me a couple of questions. I was a pretty shy kid, you know, and he like very charismatic. And I remember my dad asked me after the class, he's like, oh, what did you think of the class? And I was like, well, I really like the coach.
Yeah.
I thought the coach was really cool, right? So he had a big impression on me, like right off the bat. I was just like, oh, well, you know, I don't know if I want to go back and do jiu-jitsu, but I want to go hang out with the coach again. The coach is pretty cool, right? You know? So I did that for like
How was his English at the time?
It wasn't great, but he was like, he made like a really like, he made an effort to like come out and communicate with me and try to like, he just had a really cool vibe right off the bat. And Carlos was very friendly too.
Right.
You know, so I'm very grateful that I had, I guess, access to like such high level people.
So just getting into that just a little bit, just tell us a bit more about what the training was like in Truro, especially with the gentleman from Brazil and Carlos,
Sure.
and like what you remember.
So Carlos would teach the adults, and the kids would be taught over in the
And this is
corner.
Carlos Gracie Jr.,
Carlos Gracie
like the
Jr.,
founder
yeah.
of IBJJF.
Oh yeah, founder of IBJJF, head of Gracie Baja, Carlos Gracie Sr.'s son, right? Like, you know, so he would usually teach the adults, and him and Marcio would kind of show the technique together.
Right.
And then he would put Marcio with the kids. And there was like 6 or 7 of us, right? And I was in the kids class.
Yeah.
And so I was never athletic growing up, man. Like, I was never good at any sports, and I was always a little bit heavier when I was a kid, right? Well, being a little bit heavier in jiu-jitsu can be an advantage at times.
Sure.
Right? And so I remember in the kids class, I would get beat every day the first month or 2 months. Like, I just get beat up every day. I didn't know what I was doing. I was uncoordinated. I was not athletic, you know, and it's funny because I would come every day with my dad almost. We'd go at least 4 times a week.
Because he was training too, right?
My dad trained for the first year that I trained. Maybe first year and a little bit, right? And so what happened was, where I trained more than the other kids, I started to be able to like win a little bit, right? And I really like that. I really like that I wasn't going and getting beat up anymore, right?
Right.
So I think I kind of became a little bit of a mat bully, right? Like you know, like I would do crazy techniques. I would like do like the leg scissors on the kids' heads. I slammed a couple of kids. I didn't know you weren't allowed to do that. So like if I couldn't open their guard up, I'd pick them up and kind of like slam them on the ground.
Yeah, back then it was probably okay though.
Probably okay, right? And so what happened is all the kids quit, and I was like the lone kid in the kids program. And then they're like, okay, well, you can't teach one kid, right? So then I got bumped up into the adults program, and I don't think I tapped anybody for like 3 years. At least like 2.5 years, right? Like I think when I was like 15, almost going on 16, like then I kind of like started to be like, I could give some of the men like a hard time in training, or like I could like win around, but like a lot of that was just like growing pain. I just would go to jiu-jitsu and get my ass kicked all the time, you know? But I honestly think that was like a blessing in disguise. Like I almost quit jiu-jitsu. I think like multiple times I kept on thinking to myself, I was like, what am I doing? Like I just go to this place, I just get beat up, and like I can't do any of the sweeps on anybody. I've never submitted anybody.
Yeah, but you were probably training with obviously older people.
Oh, I was training with men, and like a lot of them were guys that were like laborers, so they were like strong too, right? But I think that like it made my defense really good. So I think that's something like that like paid dividends down the road. Like I always had pretty good defense as a competitor too. So like it got me out of sticky situations. Like matches I could have lost, I was able to turn around. Yep. So kind of grateful that it wasn't easy at the time.
And back then, no one was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No one.
Maybe Peter and Kevin a little bit, but nobody was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Nova Scotia. I don't even think like the Maritimes. Yeah, maybe Sam Johnson a little bit in New Brunswick.
Sam would be real old school too.
Yeah, but other than that,
it was Kevin Taylor, Peter Martell, and Chuck Sproul were the only guys that I knew, and Shane Rice.
Yes, of course.
And Shane Rice as well.
Yeah. So I mean, nobody was doing it.
And they had like a small little groups, each of them. Like Shane had the guys he used to train with at the Dalplex and like in the racquetball courts.
Right.
And then Kevin and Peter were above the Misty Moon for a while.
Yeah.
That's when I first started training with them.
Yeah. I used to be in Fairview too, underneath Sicilian Pizza.
Yeah, and Titus and Evans. I trained there for years.
Okay, yeah.
I trained there for years.
That used to be a Hapkido Taekwondo school.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yang, who brought Korean Judo to Nova Scotia.
Okay,
He was in the basement there.
I trained for years in that gym.
Yeah.
I trained for years in that gym. I trained for a lot of years with Kevin and Peter when I was here.
Yeah, of course. They're legends too. I mean, they're, Peter Martell is like the father of MMA in Atlantic Canada,
sure.
No question.
Yeah, I learned...
and shout out to Shane Rice, right? First
100%.
Canadian Hickson Gracie black belt. They're the only...
I think he's the only one still. Yeah, I think he's the only one still. So
From Nova Scotia too. There's another historic thing.
I trained with Shane when I was a kid quite a bit. He would come down to the Gracie Baja in Truro quite a bit, so I had a lot of contact with him. And then when I had Marcio and Carlos there.
Yep.
And then Marcio Canario came.
Right.
And he was really...
His nickname Saddam?
Saddam, yeah.
Okay, because I have him on Instagram, and once in a while he'll shoot me a message, say hi, and
super
like
good
your
dude.
posts. And I always get their names, who's who, confused.
Super good dude. And he laid a lot of the foundation for me.
Right.
He had a huge impact on my jiu-jitsu. And man, Marcio would tell you, he was doing a degree at Dal here. So he would teach the classes at night at Gracie Barra and Churro. And a lot of times, there was a lot of times when I was the only person that showed up.
Wow.
It was we had a real skeleton crew. There was 4 or 5 of us that would train.
That's crazy.
And I would basically get private lessons with this guy. And he was an awesome coach, awesome guy. And I'm really grateful that I had him for a really extended period of time. He was my coach for I don't know, maybe close to 2 years.
Wow.
You know? Maybe over 2 years. I don't really remember the timeline.
We always hear about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the U.S., the United States, and all its history and stuff. We rarely hear about it in Canada.
Sure.
And so, this is just, it's so amazing that this was happening at this point in time.
And nobody knew about it, right? It was really under the radar. So when Marcio ended up going back to Brazil, and when Marcio went back to Brazil, I had already gone up to Titans a little bit to cross-train a little bit, but at that point, when he left, I kind of was in charge of the Gracie Barra, and I was 15. Right? 15 or 16. So I was doing some of the teaching for this small little group, and I was man, I gotta try to continue.
Because Chuck kind of retired, or he took a break for a bit.
Yeah, he took a break for a while, and so.
And this was back when blue belts were running classes.
Yeah, right? And I was a juvenile blue belt at the time, right?
Blue belts were unheard of. We often hear about that, the old guys hear about that, but it is true. Even in North America, blue belts there wasn't a lot of them.
There wasn't a lot of them. If you were a purple belt, it was you were a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
It was really unheard of. So I ended up going down quite a bit. Like I said, I had already trained with Kevin and Peter a little bit. When I was 13, 14, if we go to Halifax, I'd go in and visit their gym and stuff, and they were always super cool to me. But for a big portion of time, those guys were the ones that took over as my coaches. Right. So I learned a lot of jiu-jitsu from the both of them, and they had a huge, all the people that I mentioned, Chuck, Marcio Fatoza, Carlos, Marcio Canario, Kevin, Peter, and obviously my mom and my dad, because my mom and my dad were the ones that were paying for jiu-jitsu. They would take me to Halifax.
We have to give full credit, because I remember even just chatting with your dad recently. He was, and obviously your mom as well. He was a driving force.
Oh, the two of them, 100%.
To get you doing things and training and going on the road. And of course, we'll talk about when you go to Brazil, because that's huge too. But we're sort of in the beginning stage here now.
They were my biggest asset, right? My family, I think I had a really good work ethic. So I kind of I was always a hard worker. But I think my 2 biggest assets, number 1 would be my family, my mom and my dad that jumped through a bunch of hoops and sacrificed a lot for me to be able to get to training and do all of these things. If I wouldn't have had them, I wouldn't have got 1% of where I got to.
Yep.
Right? And then when I moved back here, my sister too, my sister and her husband, they helped me a ton getting set up here, right? So I had a ton of family support that is if I wouldn't have had them throughout my career, I just don't think my career ever would have happened, right?
Wow, it's amazing. What was it like to spend time with Carlos Gracie Jr.?
He was very cool. He was very charismatic too. He would always make a big deal of coming over and talking to me when I was a kid, and he was kind of a larger than life personality. Yep. And I always just got a good vibe from him. Whenever I was in the gym, he was always very cool with me.
Right.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, they weren't here for too long. Some were here for a while, but it was Chuck Sproul brought them here because he wanted to learn. So it's not like they just said, we're going to move to Nova Scotia.
No,
they were brought up here by Chuck, and they taught, and it benefited him, you, everybody. Yeah. So that's amazing. And then, so at what point did you start thinking about going to Brazil?
So when I was training a lot at Titans, honestly. So
sorry, I keep checking that. I'm so panicky that it's going to turn off.
No, you're good. Don't worry about that. So that was I got to give my dad credit again. So my dad, this was the thing. So had been going down to Titans a lot. My mom would drive me, my dad would drive me. I would drive up sometimes with the guys from Pictou that would go down and cross train there.
For those that know, it's like an hour away. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah, so Pictou's like 25 minutes from Truro.
Right.
So those guys got to go through Truro to get to Halifax. So a lot of times I'd go up with like Mike Kitson or Matt McGrath would pick me up, right?
Rest in peace, that guy.
I'd gone with Jared, different people over the years, right? So, but my parents, my mom and my dad were the ones that did the brunt of the drive and bringing me to Halifax, right?
Right.
But my dad was like in the supermarket or something, and he ran into somebody that was a neighbor of ours, and they're like, oh, your son was in the paper for jiu-jitsu, right? And he was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, we have an exchange student for Brazil, and he said that he does jiu-jitsu. So my dad basically like introduced me to this kid.
Okay.
And or kind of like organized the meetup.
Yeah.
And he actually was really good at jiu-jitsu. He was a blue belt. He had won like maybe like 10, 15 tournaments in Brazil. And he came to the gym and we trained with each other. And we were actually a really good match for each other. We were very evenly matched. And I think he hadn't trained for about 6 months.
Right.
Right. I think he was kind of like in this process of doing the exchange program in Canada, kind of put jiu-jitsu on the back burner. But I remember like, we had like a really good roll the first time we rolled. And then we probably rolled maybe like 10 times for the year that he was there. He wasn't really like super focused on like doing jiu-jitsu while he was in Canada. He wanted to like, you know, have a full experience,
Canadian
right?
Stuff.
He wanted to be some Canadian girls.
There you go.
And, but we became really good friends.
Yeah.
And we'd hang out every day after school. Lucas Suarez was his name, great guy. And so my dad kind of said like, you know, he's like, because Lucas had said, oh man, like my mom said, anytime you want to come to Brazil, like, you're welcome to stay at our house, blah, blah, blah. And then my dad was like, okay, well, you know, why don't you go? You know, and my dad had a business at the time and they had a lot of like air miles through the business that he had.
Right.
And so that was another thing that was a really big asset for me. Like my dad got me to tournaments through all these air miles that he had accumulated over the years. So like he'd send me to like Brazil or I went to California, like, you know, like, because I didn't have the money to buy flights at the time.
Well, yeah,
right?
of course. And you were younger.
I was young too, right? But even when I was like a young adult, like I drained all my dad's air miles. You know, he had a lot of them saved up over the years that he had never really used. And he was like generous enough to let me use those in the pursuit of jiu-jitsu, right?
Right.
So.
Wow. Okay, so you decide to go to Brazil. That's a whole podcast in itself, but basically what was that like being immersed in that culture at that time period, going to a school, all that stuff? So
it was really cool. Like for me, it was
not speaking the language, which of course you do now.
Yeah, I do now.
But back then,
I couldn't speak anything. I didn't know any words in Portuguese, right? But it was kind of crazy because like I didn't go to Rio or Sao Paulo. I didn't go to a huge city. I went to a different state. It's in the southeast, so it's in the same region as Rio and Sao Paulo. It's called Espírito Santo is the state, and then Vitória would be the name of the city. And it's kind of crazy how things work out. So like I asked Lucas, my buddy who was the exchange student, I was like, oh, well, like who are the good schools there?
Right. And
he was like, oh, you should go train with Jamelon. So Jamelon was a guy that, I don't know if he was ever a world champion at the black belt level, but I think he was a silver medalist twice. But like super, super, super good jiu-jitsu. And he's the guy that invented the deep half guard.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, and that's the crazy thing is like my whole career I was known as a half guard player.
Right.
That wasn't really my intention. Like I didn't see the half guard and be like, oh man, this is like super cool. I want to do this.
Right.
The first time I went to Brazil, I went for like 6 weeks or something. And every class, this guy would just show half guard.
Okay.
And I learned like probably like 50 techniques from half guard in 6 weeks, right?
Wow.
And I kind of every day I would go to class and I'd be like, man, I'd always played a lot of closed guard, and I was like, I hope this guy like shows like a closed guard move or like maybe like a takedown or like a guard pass,
sweep.
Right? But every day it was half guard. And even when I left, I wasn't really thinking like, oh, this is what my focus is gonna be, you know? But I remember when I came home and I trained with Kevin, Kevin said to me, Kevin Taylor, he's like, you need to stick with this half guard thing.
Right.
He was like,
you just found you went in that position, you were always there, you enjoyed it.
I just had a lot more knowledge, right?
Like, you just went there, you were comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I didn't even really realize that was happening. Like when we rolled, I hadn't rolled with Kevin for 6 weeks, and I would train with Kevin all the time.
Right.
I would train with Kevin and Peter all the time. And I remember Kevin specifically was the one that said to me, he was like, you got something here, you need to stick with this. Right. So like, I don't know if I would have stuck with it if he wouldn't have given me that advice either. Right. And then me and him, especially, we did like a super deep dive on the half guard. I learned a lot of half guard, just me and him studying together. We did that for a lot of years. Like we were on YouTube, or like he had like a big library of like the DVDs and the VHSs. So we learned a lot of stuff that was like a lot of the foundation of my half guard game was stuff that we kind of figured out with each other. You know, he's got a really smart, both him and Peter have a really smart mind for jiu-jitsu, right?
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Kevin has that strong taekwondo background too. So, I mean, even, you know, he come from a traditional martial arts. So he just understood research, development, all that stuff. I mean, that's amazing. So you go to Brazil and you start training, and were you training all the time, like during, or just...
The first
Or did you be like, I want to look at the sites and get
the first year I went, I did do a lot of training, but I did, it was like such a culture shock for me, just come from Churro, you know? And so I did do quite a bit of partying the first time I went there.
Sure.
And I kind of thought about the first trip. I was like, man, I learned a bunch of good jiu-jitsu, but I didn't really I didn't apply myself, and I kind of like was kicking myself in the ass after the first trip, because I was like, you know, like I'd always been somebody that had been like a super hard worker in the gym, right? Like, and I thought, man, if I go next year, I'm just gonna like immerse myself in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna train just like once a day. Like then I was just training like once a day, you know, and I would go out at nighttime, or I'd do different things. Like, you know, I was being a teenager. So the second time I went for a longer period of time. I went for like 10 weeks, or I did maybe even longer than that. And I was training 3 times a day.
Wow.
You know, I was taking a private lesson every day because the exchange rate was like super cheap for me to do a private lesson with a really good guy. I think I was spending like, I think he told me, give me a deal. He was like, if you do one with me 7 days a week, I'll charge you like 40 reais. And 40 reais at the time was like, I don't know, it was like $12.
Oh, wow.
And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, this guy is like world class. He told me he'll do like a private with me every day, and it's only gonna cost $12. And my dad was like, do it, you know?
Guess.
And I made a tremendous amount of like progress doing the privates, and then I would train in the morning and at night every day.
Right.
And I found that trip, like that really kind of hooked me. I was like, okay, you know, I felt like I made a lot of big improvements, and when I came back, I had even more knowledge, right? So that was the second time I went. And then,
but eventually you ended up moving there.
Yeah, so both those times I was still in high school.
Okay.
Right? And then I graduated high school, and Peter Martell had told me that he would give me a job at the ale house.
The ale house.
As soon as,
no way.
Yeah, as soon as I was out of high school.
Oh, there's stories there.
Yeah, I had a lot of stories. So he told me, he goes, come down, I'll give you a job, and you can start training with us full time, right? So that's what happened. And then I was at Titans full time, and I would be at Titans pretty much from the time they opened until the time they closed every day.
Right.
You know, and so I didn't have the money to go. I went when I was 16, I went when I was 17, I graduated. No, I went when 16, 17, I graduated. I moved to Halifax, and then I didn't have money to go for about a year.
Right.
So I was working, I was trying to kind of salt some money away, and then I ended up making this decision. I was like, okay, I need to go to Brazil for like a longer period of time so I can get more tournaments in, because I competed at the World Championships.
Right, yeah, that's my other subject I want to chat with you about.
I did both of them. The 2 years I went, I did go to Rio and compete in the Worlds, but I went out first round.
Okay.
Right, because I didn't have any experience as a jiu-jitsu competitor. I did like some wrestling, and that's another story too. Like Corey Robinson was my wrestling coach here.
Another great guy.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome guy. Someone that had like a tremendous impact on me as like a competitor.
Yeah. And
really kind of taught me like what work ethic was. And somebody that I still cite to this day is like, he had like a profound impact on my career as an athlete. He's good dude.
Helped so many people with wrestling.
Oh man, he's the man. He's the man, great guy. And so I was actually wrestling with him a bunch. I was training at Titans, I was doing wrestling with him. And I kind of realized, like, I was like, hey, if I want to be a good competitor, I need to get like experience competing in jiu-jitsu. So I need to go for like a longer period of time.
Right.
So I ended up going to Rio for like, I think it was like 7 or 8 months. And I like had no plan. I didn't really know anybody in Rio. Things worked out. I met some really good people when I got there. People that are like lifelong friends to this day. And they really kind of introduced me to some different people to train with. And then I started doing all these like local tournaments.
Right.
You know, so like I remember when I first moved to Rio, it was like in 2006, and I went for like I think I went for 8 months, which is crazy because I didn't even realize like the visa is only valid for 180 days. So I spent over the time. So they gave me a fine leaving Brazil.
No way.
Oh yeah, I got a fine. I had a fine in my passport. I had multiple fines in my passport for a couple of years.
Just because you stayed for so long.
Yeah, and so like I met Aníbal Braga was one of the guys who's a red and white belt. He was one of the first guys I met on the trip. Ricardo Nogueira and Pedro Paulinho. And these were 3 guys that like I trained with them. They opened up a bunch of doors for me. They helped me like get signed up for some tournaments.
Wow.
And I remember it was kind of wild because I had been a blue belt for a long time, right? Like I had been a blue belt for like, I think 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I was 20, I got the blue belt when I was 15.
Yep.
And these guys were telling me like, hey, you know, you should do like a tournament, you know? And I was like, man, well, my real focus is to get a purple belt, right? Like I had never won a match as a blue belt.
Okay,
I'd never won a match as a blue belt. My record was 0 wins, 4 losses as a blue belt. So I tell people this all the time. I'm like, man, if you don't have success right away, just stick with it, because if you work hard, you know, success will come. And my buddy at the time, Ricardo, he said to me, he was like, well, there's like a little local tournament, like, why don't you sign up for purple belt? And I was like, well, I can't do that. I'm not a purple belt. He's like, well, I'll give you the purple belt. And if you win the tournament, you can keep the purple belt. Right? And I had never won a jiu-jitsu match in my life. Right? I had won some wrestling matches. Like I was a decent wrestler for like Atlantic, Canada. But in jiu-jitsu, I had a losing record. And we went to this like little town, Juiz de Fora. It's the state. Juiz de Fora is the city. Minas Gerais is the state, right beside Rio. And we went there, and I fought this like little local tournament. I fought a pretty tough guy in the finals, though. And I ended up winning the first match, and I was just pumped. I was like, oh my God, I got my first win in jiu-jitsu at purple belt, right? I was over the moon. If I would have lost in the finals, I still would have been happy about it. Thing. But I fought a pretty tough guy in the finals. And he had kind of smoked everybody up to the finals. He'd hurt everybody up to the finals. He broke one guy's arm, you know? And so I was kind of getting nervous before fighting him, and I thought, like, right before we went out, I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'll just throw the kitchen sink at him, right? And I ended up putting him in deep half guard. I ended up taking his back, and I won the tournament. And I was the first time I'd ever won a match. It was the first time I'd ever won a tournament in jiu-jitsu. Wow. And that really got the ball rolling for me. I kind of started to believe in myself a little bit, you know? And then that year, I only think I won like 3 tournaments. And I lost a bunch of tournaments, but I was like, okay, I went from being 0-4 and never winning a match to winning 3 tournaments at purple belt in Brazil, right? And then I was like, okay, maybe there's something here, you know? And then the next year I went back to Brazil, and I did that like 6 months in Brazil, 6 months in Nova Scotia a couple of times. And then on the second trip to Brazil, I met Cyborg. Roberto Abreu. And we hit it off. He spoke really good English because he had done an exchange program in the States when he was a kid. And he told me, he's like, hey, I'm gonna open up this gym in Miami. I'd like to have you with me in the gym. Wow. He's like, you can live inside the gym. So I ended up
in Miami.
Yeah.
Man, I never even knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got my black belt from Cyborg.
Okay.
That's where I got my black belt from. That. And I lived in Cyborg's gym in Miami for 2.5 years, like sleeping on the mats with a bunch of Brazilian guys. And
it's like out of a movie, man.
Out of a movie, right? And so I lived there for 2.5 years inside Fight Sports, and I was like a kind of a jack of all trades in the gym. I would clean the gym, I'd help teach the kids classes, I'd sign people up, I worked at the front desk, I would like do the sales pitches when people would come in. And so I did that for a long time, and there is where I started to like win bigger tournaments. Like I won the Pan Ams in California at purple belt. I had like 73 guys in my division. You know, I had a bunch of really good people in my division, and training with him, I won that. I won the US Open, I won the Abu Dhabi trials, and then I was kind of off to the races. Right? And what I was
You probably never had much of a social life
No,
Okay.
well, I did with the guys that I live with in the gym.
Yeah,
right?
but you know what I mean, like out at night.
Oh,
partying,
no, there's like...
Yeah, okay, of course.
There was none of that. First of
No.
all, I didn't have any money to do that.
Yep.
Miami's a pretty expensive city.
Yep.
And I didn't really have any interest either. Like I was
Sure.
the guy that would go to bed at 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
And
Get
wake
up
up
in the morning
at
and
7 in the
keep
morning and
training.
get to work, right? So I did that, but I was still going to Brazil too. So like what I was doing financially was like my parents were helping me a little bit, but what I would do is I would periodically like come back to Nova Scotia
Yep.
and I would do like little seminars and I was
Yep.
organizing tournaments at Merrimack and Churro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did a couple of those a year, and then like I had odd jobs that I would do in like Florida. Like I'd work at this. I worked on this thing called the Tiki Boat, which was like a rave that would go around Miami Harbor, and I was a security guard, and I would do that, and they would pay us. They would pay us, right? So I would do that
Under the table, I'm sure.
Under the table, yeah, cash at the time, and so I did that for a while. As like odd jobs, I would work at tournaments sometimes, like be like a bracket coordinator,
Yep.
or like doing different things. But I was still going back to Brazil.
Right.
So I would go back to Brazil for 6 months, and I trained at a couple different gyms there, and then I found GF Team. And so the thing with GF Team is I'd fought a bunch of guys from GF Team.
Right.
I'd fought probably like 7 or 8 guys from GF Team. I'd say that my batting record against them was probably about 500. If I had 20 matches against guys from GF Team, I was probably 10-10.
Okay.
10 losses,
Yep.
10 wins. And they were like the best school in Rio by far.
Right.
They were the powerhouse gym. And I was kind of training at like these like mom and pop shop gyms,
Yep.
where I didn't have like a huge support system.
Okay.
So like a lot of times I go to a tournament by myself.
Oh,
and I would
wow.
like roll up to the tournament. I would see somebody that I knew, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna fight. Can you corner me?" And I would always see these guys from GF Team. They had like a huge crew of dudes. Everybody was super
Probably
tough.
all had the jackets.
Oh
and the shirts
yeah,
and
they were all decked out with the gear,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is the biggest thing is they were really respectful.
Yeah.
Like I had like some really heated rivalries with some of the guys, but it was like heated on the mats. And as soon as we stepped off, I was like, man, this guy's a gentleman.
Yep.
Very respectful, very humble. Like I got a good vibe from them, right? So Cyborg had told me that he told me, he's like, after the Worlds, I'm gonna give you the black belt. And he's like, man,
Wow.
he's like, I think where you're training in Brazil, I don't think they have like the support system for you to be able to get to the next step as a black belt competitor, because there's a big difference between like adult black belt and adult brown belt.
Right.
Right? And I was really highly seated at brown and purple belt. Like I was in the top like probably 3 guys in the world at both of those belts at one point in time.
Yep.
Right? And he's like, I really think you have a lot of potential. And he's like, I know that like when you come back to Miami, you're going to train here, but I think you need to look for something that's going to like benefit you
Right.
going forward. Like if you're going to be spending a lot of time in Brazil.
Right.
And he's like, do you want to go to Alliance? Do you want to go to Checkmat? Do you want to go to Gracie Baja? Do you want to go to Atos? He's like, I know a lot of people. I will make the connection. I'll like kind of like be the bridge for you to get to that spot.
Right.
And GF Team was really big in Rio, but it wasn't really known outside of Rio.
Okay.
And so I said to him, I said, I want to go to GF Team. And he was like, you want to go where? And he was like, why wouldn't you want to go to like Novo União or Atos or Alliance, any of these big schools?
Right.
I was like, man, these guys are the powerhouse gym in Brazil. And I was like, I don't want to leave Rio. I don't want to go to Sao Paulo or a different state. I kind of feel comfortable living there. I have a lot of friends there,
Yep.
I felt kind of comfortable living there. And I was like, this is where I want to go. And for me, it was the best decision I've ever made in my jiu-jitsu career. I made a lot of good decisions. I made a lot of bad decisions too.
Yeah.
But if I look back in time, it was definitely the best decision. So the first year I went to go train at GF Team, one of my best friends to this day is a girl. She doesn't train jiu-jitsu at all. She's a really good friend of mine. Carolina Branch is her name. And she's a really good friend of mine. And she ended up letting me live with her for like, I think 6 or 7 months for free. And she was like, no, you come live with me. And I would take the bus every day to go to Mayor.
Wow.
And it was an hour-and-a-half bus ride each way. So I would get there in the morning and I would leave probably around like late afternoon, like 5 or 6. And so like the travel was kind of killing me a little bit, right? Like, and so Julio said to me, he was like, man, next year you come back, if you want, you can live in the gym here, right? Because there was a small group, there was one guy living in the gym, Vitor Oliveira, who's a really good friend of mine. And he ended up moving to the States. So I lived for the first week in the gym by myself. There was nobody there. And Mayor, where the gym is in Rio, is completely different than like what you think of Rio as like Copacabana, Leblon,
Right.
Ipanema. You're in like the north zone of Rio, which is like inner city, surrounded by favelas, huge crime rate.
Yep.
You know, it was, for me, it was a shock, because I had lived in Rio for a couple of years already, if you added up all the time, but I had lived in the south zone of Rio. I lived in the west zone.
Real nice
way
area.
nicer, right? There is crime. It's Rio de Janeiro, so you got to be careful.
Yep.
But like for me, I was like, it was like a culture shock. I was like, this is a completely different side of the city that I'd never had seen.
Right.
Right. And so I ended up living in Julio's gym I was part of the Kashunga Project, which is like a social program that they have for kids that come from like different parts of Brazil. A lot of kids come from the northeast part of Brazil, which is a poorer region of Brazil,
Yep.
and they live in the gym, they clean the gym, and the gym kind of sponsors them so they can be an athlete at the gym. So like Vitor Oliveira was the first person in that program. He's 5-time Masters World Champion, ranked top 5 in the world at adult for like 10 years. One of the baddest guys I've ever put my hands on. One of my best friends, super good guy. And then the next 2 people to come were myself and then Jaime Canuto. And Jaime Canuto is another guy that was top 3 in the world for, top 3-5 in the world for a long period of time. Another one of the best guys I've ever put my hands on. Another one of my best friends. And me and Jaime lived in the gym together I lived in the gym for almost 3 years there.
Jeez.
Yeah. So living in the gym in Miami was like living at the Ritz-Carlton compared to living at GF Team, right?
That's right. Wow. Off subject, was obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was becoming more popular at that time period and everything. But I remember back in the early 90s, you always heard about the rivalry with Lucha Libre.
Sure.
All that stuff. Did you see any of that?
No, I missed that.
That was like the old days, right?
Yeah, I missed that a little bit. Like that was like a little bit, that was like...
Dojo storming.
Yeah, that was probably like 10, 15 years before my time that I was there. Like that was really early 90s. And then there was a lot of rivalries between the teams.
Right.
And I kind of missed out on that just like by a couple of years.
Right.
I had seen a couple of crazy things. Like I'd seen like a couple of like fights in the bleachers where the bleachers just turned into a brawl. I had seen that in Rio a couple of times or different spots, but things were pretty amicable when I got to
the good old days.
Yeah, I kind of missed some of that, luckily, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have again, this could be a whole podcast, but you have an amazing competition history, and in just training and competing in so many different tournaments. And you started off, like you said, you didn't do very well as a blue belt.
Yeah.
You were,
never won a fight,
never won a fight, and then all of a sudden it just picked up from there. And I know you're still training, you're still competing, and you've won pretty much everything you can, probably multiple times. Just what's your drive for doing that?
Well, I told a lot of the students, and I told my mom and my dad this, I told my sister this. I said that I wasn't going to compete this year, right? Like I did a couple tournaments last year, and I was like, doing the diet and the weight cut and the training, it was like, I felt like it was kind of like, I was like, okay, maybe I need to like take a little bit of a break. And I'm going to do more tournaments this year than I did last tour. I kind of got the bug again. It was a very short retirement.
Right.
But I just love it. I love coming in and putting the work in, and I've always I don't really think I had a lot of like natural ability. I don't think I was like very fast or very strong or very coordinated, but with jiu-jitsu, I realized if you put the work in and if I work harder than everybody, I'll get the desired result that I want.
Right.
And I did have like a very successful competition career as at the adult level, at the masters level. There's lots of things that I set out to win that I did not win. Like I never was an IBJJF black belt world champion, which was my main goal.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, that's something that I don't ever lose any sleep over. It's not something that doesn't bug me, because I know that I invested 100% and 10% energy into it, and I basically did everything that was in my control to be able to achieve that goal.
Right.
And I didn't achieve that goal, but I did achieve a lot of goals along the way. Like I won a lot of big tournaments. I was ranked in the top 10 guys in IBJJF, AGP, flow grappling, all at adult black belt.
What are some of your most favorite tournaments? I mean, I know you're very humble, so you don't like to really talk about it a lot, but I'm just curious, like what are some of your favorite tournaments that you won or you went to?
The best,
Just name off a whole list of them that you.
For sure, the one that comes to my brain right away is the Brazilian National Teams Championship. It was my first year at black belt, and so this is like a very classic tournament in Brazil. And in the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil, it's a big deal, and it's the only tournament in the IBJJF that's this format. It doesn't exist anymore. They haven't done it for the last couple of years. I think I don't know if I fought the last edition in 2017, but it's where you have a squad of 5 guys.
Yep.
And it's a bracket format. So let's say that there's Gracie Barra, GF Team, Alliance, Checkmat, Novo União, Atos. So you're gonna fight, and it's whatever team gets to 3 victories. So if the first team, if they win 3 in a row right away, the next 2 guys don't fight. Or if it's tied 2-2, the 5th one decides it. Right? Wow. And you advance in the bracket all the way to the finals.
All killers. You're not.
And it's the national tournament for the IBJJF for the teams.
Okay.
So in 2010 was the first year I got to GF Team, and in the history of the tournament, there had never been a team that had won 3 years in a row. There were multiple teams like Gracie Barra, Checkmat, GF Team, Alliance, multiple teams that had won 2 years.
Yep.
And there was lots of 2-time champions, but there had never been a 3-time champion, and there had never been a 3-time champion 3 years in a row. And when I got there, GF Team had won 2008 and 2009, right? So this was the talk. As soon as I got there 6 months before the tournament started.
Right.
But that guy's like, we're going to be the first 3-time champions this year, right? And in the room at that point, it was super deep. There was probably 20 guys at my weight and belt, and
wow.
it's separated by weight.
The best,
the best of the best, right? And so I remember when we had gone through the whole season, and this was at the end of the season, and people were really ramping up talking about this. And we had enough guys on the team to make 3 teams. We were gonna have an A team, a B team, and a C team. So we were gonna overload the bracket, right? Because there was 5 or 6 other teams in there with us, but we would get split up on the bracket, and if we were able to win, GF Team A was here and C was here, if we could close at the bracket,
yep.
that would be one less round that we would have to do, because C would forfeit to A.
Okay.
Right? So I remember when they were doing the team selection for this, and there was a lot of backdoor stuff that I wasn't privy to, because it was a lot of the coordinators of the team. But if I'm being honest with you, my real hope was to get on the B team. I wasn't even thinking that there was a possibility that I could be on the A team, if I'm being honest, right? And all of my really good buddies and my best training partners that I was really even with were on the B team. It was kind of already mapped out in stone. Okay, these guys are going to be on this squad, and I was really hoping that I was going to be on that squad. And it was my first year at black belt, but I had a crazy first year at black belt. My record at black belt the first year at black belt is 42 wins, 2 losses. Was my record, my debut at black belt for the first year I was there. And so at that point I was 40, I think I was 40-2. And I had done really, really well in the tournaments. I beat a bunch of guys that were experienced, and I was just producing results, but I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just on to the next challenge kind of thing. And I remember the day that we were sitting on the mats, and they're doing the team selection. So it's a big thing. You got 50 guys there. Julio's in the front, and he starts naming off the teams. So he named off the C team, and I remember he didn't say my name. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be on the B team. I was super excited. And then he names up the B team. He didn't name my name. And automatically my first thought was man, I wasn't even good enough for the C team.
Wow.
Right? So I was kind of beside myself. I was
almost being in line when they're promoting people for even lower belts and they don't call your name.
Yeah.
But something else greater comes later, but you're my name didn't get called.
I was almost in tears. I was just oh man, I put in all this work. I was man, I didn't make the B team, which was my real goal.
Yeah.
I wasn't even good enough for the C team. And then he said the A team, he said my name last.
Wow.
Right? And we got to, and I was I came up to him and I kind of asked him, are you sure about this? And he's 100% sure. He's you had an awesome season. You worked your ass off. I think you're the man for the spot, right? And so I didn't know where they were going to throw me in the lineup. And the big kicker to this story is that Atos was the #1 team on the planet. And Atos is what AOJ and Atos now, if you fuse those two, that's what it was.
Okay.
So it was both the Mendez brothers were on the Atos team. It was Rafael Mendez, Guilherme Mendez, Gilbert Burns that fights in the UFC, Durinho was on the team. Davi Ramos, who flying armbar, Lucas Lepri in the finals of ADCC was on the team. Eduardo Ramos was on the team. That was the guy that he closed out I think the Brasileiros, the Europeans, and the Pans with the Mendez brothers. And then Bruno Furtado, who was another heavy hitter. He had got second at the Worlds the year before.
Wow.
And so they had came out on Gracie Mag and basically said, I don't know if it was the coach or who said it, that they were coming to Rio to claim their title to prove that they were the best. And there was they kind of really disregarded us in the article. And I remember Julio making a speech in the gym the week of the tournament, like the teams were already solidified. And he's like, I don't care how you guys do it, but you're not gonna let these guys come in our house and beat us in our house. Right? Rio's our house.
Yep.
They're from Sao Paulo. We're the 2 times defending champions. I don't care how you get it done, just get it done.
Yeah.
This. And he was super serious about it.
Sure, to the death.
Yeah. And I was I had never really, it was the first time I had seen him like that almost. He was really he was putting the message out there that we had to do this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we get to the tournament and we get to the finals of the tournament. And I didn't have to fight any of the first rounds because our team went 3-0. So I was one of the later round guys. So I didn't have to fight. And then we closed out our side of the bracket with the C team. So they beat Gracie Baja in the semifinals.
Yep.
We beat somebody else in the semifinal or in the quarterfinals, and then we met in the semifinals, and they let us through. Oh. So I hadn't done one tournament. I hadn't done one match that day.
And
yet.
it's like watching a movie. I'm on edge.
It was like a Rocky movie, right? And so we get up into the stands, and the thing about this tournament is the team selection. You don't know, if you're on the opposite team, we don't know what the lineup's going to be.
Right.
So the coach for GF team would write down 1 to 5 what his order was, and then the other coach, and then they pass them to each other. And then you see who's going to match up with who, right? So we're in the stands, and I had never competed at this tournament before. All the guys on my team were guys that were defending champions. They had done this tournament multiple times. So Julia does the teams meeting with us, and he was like, okay, who wants who's what spot? And the guys go, I want 1, 2, 3, 4. In 10 seconds, the four first spots were defined. And there's only 1 spot left for me. It was the 5th spot. So that's the ringer, right? So if I'm the 5th spot, if it comes down to 2-2, I decide the tournament, right? And so I had no idea what I was doing. And Julio looked at me, he goes, you got the 5th spot? I said, yeah. But I didn't know the responsibility that was entailed with that, right? So I remember we won the first one. Theodore Canal won the first one. He beat Frazado. And then the best guy on our team, bro, the guy that would beat me up like I was a white belt, he ended up dropping the second match. He got knee barred. And I was thinking he was our if we won the first one, then we won the next one, we were off to the races. We were gonna win without me having to fight, right? Which kind of,
you're like, hey, okay.
I was praying for that to happen to a certain extent, right? And I'm really happy that it didn't because it gave me one of my best moments in my career, right? But we ended up winning the 3rd match. We ended up losing the 4th match, and then it was down to me. And I remember we had about 100 guys from GF team in our cheering section, and we had a big GF team flag that was almost as big as this mat that the guys were flying, right?
Wow.
And I remember I was getting tired before the match started because I was there was so much stress on me, right? Yeah. And I remember
I'm stressed just listening to this at the moment.
I remember what Julio said to me. He said, he called me over and he grabbed me by the hands and he just said to me, he goes, I just want you to know, I know you got the weight of the world on your shoulders right now, but I'm with you whether you win or lose. Yeah, I'm with you. And I remember I went out and we had a barn burner match. We had the best match of the tournament, me and Eduardo Ramos, and we were tied 2-2 on advantages, and I swept him to mount with 10 seconds left, and I couldn't stabilize the mount, but I got the 2 advantages off, sweeping him and mounting him almost. Yep. And it was crazy. And when I beat them, they flew the flag, and man, everybody was going nuts in the crowd. And you're in Tijuca Tennis Club, which is like the mecca of jiu-jitsu. And I remember a couple of years earlier, I'd seen a guy, when he won the Brazilian Nationals, he did the salute like this, and he did it to his team. And I thought, for some reason, I thought, I'll do that someday in my life. I thought that was super cool. And in Gracie magazine, they had the picture of me saluting the crowd.
Oh, man.
And then they got me up on Julio's shoulders. And it was crazy. It's funny because Julio told this story when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. He kind of like did a much shorter version of this story, but he basically said that, like, you know, he said, I'm going to give out this award for the Hall of Fame. This person was a Masters World Champion for our team. And then he told the story of the tournament, because that's one of the criteria to get into the Hall of Fame. You got to be a Masters World Champion or adult World Champion. And he said, I knew you were the man for the job. And he said, I knew that. He goes, it was one of the best decisions I ever made, right? So there's a lot of big tournaments that I won that I could name, but that's the best one.
That's the best,
right?
Like, that is the best.
Because of all the context that
Should have
goes
retired right then. Be like, that's it. No, of course not. But man, that's just, I don't even know what to say about that. That's just amazing. Like, that is just, all started in Truro, right?
All started in Truro, yeah.
Amazing. I won't keep you too much longer. I don't even know how to come back from all that. It was a great story, man.
I appreciate it, sir.
Seriously, that is amazing. I guess a couple fun questions for you.
Sure.
Would be, I don't know, gi or no gi? Obviously, you're a gi guy, but the popularity has been so much with no gi now.
Sure.
UFC, BJJ, and all that stuff. Do you watch any of it, or?
I watch all of it, man. I'm just obsessed with jiu-jitsu. I'm sure I drive my wife crazy. Like, every day we wake up and I mean,
she's black belt too.
She is, but she's not obsessed like jiu-jitsu like I am. Like, she's got like a turn-off switch where she can like come in the gym, train. She can be really like, kind of like, in the moment with jiu-jitsu, but her brain turns off jiu-jitsu a lot of times when we leave.
Right.
I think one of the things that I have that has made me successful is I have like crazy like OCD with jiu-jitsu. Like, I watch jiu-jitsu as soon as I get up, I watch it, I train all day, and then I go home and I watch it, right? I love watching all the no-gi stuff, and I think I'm really grateful for what no-gi has done for jiu-jitsu, because it's brought us into the spotlight a little bit more. It's bringing more eyes to jiu-jitsu, it's bringing more money to jiu-jitsu. I competed a lot in no-gi coming up through the belts, and a crazy thing about no-gi was I started competing at purple belt in no-gi, and I was undefeated from purple belt to black belt in no-gi. I'd only ever lost 2 matches no-gi in my life. Wow. And I was a 2-time Brazilian national champion at the adult black belt level no-gi, right? So I don't have 2 national titles at the adult level in the gi, but I enjoy training no-gi more. I'm sorry, I enjoy training gi more.
Yes,
it's just
of course.
Like,
and it's perfect.
You know, so like sometimes I'll come in and train no-gi with the guys, and I do have a lot of experience. Like, I've done a lot of ADCC camps. I did Cyborg's ADCC camp. I did Adolfo's ADCC camp. I did Popovich's ADCC camp, where I was brought in as a training partner, and I'd be there on a daily basis. I did the ADCC trials in Brazil twice, where I made it to I had like 70 or 80 guys in the bracket. I made it to the final 8 in both of them. And I lost on judge decisions in double overtime, 0-0, right? So I know I'm the only person ever from North America to ever fight the ADCC trials in Brazil, because I had the permanent residency visa, I had the social insurance number, I had all the requirements that you needed. But I like no-gi a lot, and I teach it in the gym now. But for my own personal training, I train with the gi on, right? Like, I don't know how many more years I can train at the intensity and the volume that I train at. So when I come in, a lot of times, if I'm either training for myself or I'm training to like help push some of the young guys in here, it's usually with the gi on. If I've got somebody that's got some no-gi coming up, like we've got a couple real good no-gi competitors here, like Jeremy trains here. We got a couple guys that are really good no-gi. I'll come in and help push them. You know, but I'd say I train 98% in the gi.
What do you think about those people that spend millions of dollars and get their black belts in 2 years?
Oh, no,
I won't get into it. We won't say the person's name, but
I just think like, I think the value in anything is like, you know, like, if I went and I did a tournament and it was really easy and I beat guys that I didn't think were like really great competitors, I would be like, oh, cool, like I won the tournament, right? But if I went to a tournament and I like fought somebody that I have like a tremendous amount of respect for,
Derek Moneybird.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know, those are the ones that matter to me. Like if I go and if I went and beat somebody that I really respect, I'm like, oh my God, I had this crazy hard match. So I think that's the thing with the black belt. It's something that's hard to achieve. It's a lot of hours. I put a lot of miles on my body, and I've dedicated my life to this. Like for me to get the black belt for me was like a surreal moment in time that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember Cyborg tying the black belt on my waist and me just being like, oh my God, I remember myself as a short, chubby kid starting at the Gracie Baja and Churro, being a yellow belt, and it took me 12 years to get to the black belt. For me, that was something like a monumental moment in my life that I'm sure that I will remember till the day I die. For him, like you bought a black belt at the end of the day, you're gonna have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what? Like I didn't really put in the hard work.
No question.
So I don't really think, it's not going to be as savory as someone that put in all that time and effort, right?
Yeah. Couple super fast questions. Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers?
Oh man, you got me there. I liked both of them when I was a kid. I guess the Ninja Turtles phase was longer for me, right?
There you go. I always use this term, your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts. 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 2 or 3 people. And martial arts can be anything.
Oh man, I'm a big martial arts enthusiast too.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Man. Let's go. Let's do it. That's my favorite subject.
I watch all types of martial arts. Like when I say like I watch jiu-jitsu, I will go down the rabbit hole watching Kyokushin karate.
Hardcore karate.
Hardcore, right?
One of the hardest karate styles.
Huge K1 fan. I grew up watching K1.
Yeah.
You got to put Hoist on there because Hoist put jiu-jitsu on the map for sure.
100%.
100%. And he was the guy, like if you would have put Hickson is probably on the Mount Rushmore too, just because he was like the family goat, right? I think you got to put him there too, but you got to put both of those guys for sure. I don't know. You could put so many of the Gracies on Mount Rushmore because like
even like someone that's not in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Sure. I would say, let me see.
I know I caught you off guard with this one.
You're gonna have to put Maeda, Mitsu Maeda. You're gonna have to put Jigoro Kano.
Yeah,
right. Because
absolutely. He saved. Obviously with judo, obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, all that stuff.
And if you look at the history of Jiu-Jitsu, really what we are, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like a Kosen judo.
Yes.
We're a judo, because that's the thing. Like Jiu-Jitsu existed before judo, but it was a martial art for like war times, right? There was like so many brutal techniques, right?
Yeah.
So really,
he redefined it, just like redefining the Chinese school system.
Sure.
He did that too.
100%. So like if you look at jiu-jitsu, like I think a lot of people, the way that the history of jiu-jitsu is construed is like there's this thing that kind of the Gracies did put out there that they learned from Maeda and this, but we really came from judo to a big extent, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to put both of those guys on there. You're gonna have to put you're gonna have to put Muhammad Ali on there.
Yeah.
Right? Boxing is a martial art.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have to put on, like if you're thinking of the best wrestlers of all time, like a Satiev or a Karelin, who was a Greco-Roman wrestler.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's okay, that's good. Favorite martial art movie? Do you have one?
Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx?
No way.
Rumble in the Bronx and Bloodsport.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, there you go. Rumble in Bronx was filmed in BC.
No, it wasn't. Really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. That's the Jackie Chan one.
Yeah, I love it, yeah.
So, okay, real super quick. I had a student that trained with me for about 6 months that was in that movie for 5 seconds.
No.
There's a scene where he's like a street punk sitting in a white van, and he's like, ugh. Then that was him. It was like a split second.
Oh, bro, I watched that movie multiple
Bloodsport,
times.
of course, we won't talk about Frank Duke, so that guy's fraud.
Yes, but the movie was great. It was a great storyline.
The movie was awesome.
Right?
It was a great storyline.
Oh, I used to love the martial arts movies as a kid.
The one after, oh my God, you're getting my brain here, but the one after it, Kickboxer.
That
was written before Bloodsport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was actually written before. And then once they knew Bloodsport became kind of popular and famous, they were like, okay, we'll use Van Damme for Kickboxer.
Tong Po, you fought Tong Po in the finals, right?
That guy's been in a whole bunch of movies too. Anyway, do you have a book? Any type of book that you, favorite martial art book, or just book in general that you
I've read a couple of, it's funny because like, I really am interested, it's funny because I failed history in high school. I was a terrible student, but
Almost done.
I was always really interested in the history of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I've read a couple of books from Robert Drysdale that were really good.
His interviews are amazing.
Yeah.
I listen to them all the time at work when I'm working, podcasts.
He's become a friend of mine over the last couple of years. Me and him were out in San Diego filming together for Jiu-Jitsu X. And he was always somebody that I really like looked up to. And
his history is just second
super
to none.
good dude too. Like I had a 5-hour conversation with the guy, and I was a fan of him before I met him. And when I like sat down and talked to him, like just like so humble, down to earth, and just like so knowledgeable.
Yep.
And yeah, but he's the man. I really like his books a lot. Corey Robinson, he really got me on like the sports psychology about about competing, and he recommended a couple really good books to me that I had read when I was a kid. But the biggest one, I don't know what the name of it would be. He gave me a little book of quotes, a little red book that was maybe like 20 or 30 pages long. And he said, I think this will benefit you.
Right.
And I still have this little book of quotes to this day. And I remember when I was first learning to compete, he would say, if you're getting nervous, just open that up and read a couple of the quotes.
Nice.
And I remember one of the quotes was that time is much more valuable than money, because money you can get back, time you can't get back.
There you go.
Right? And I remember there was like quotes like that in the book. And I don't know what the name of the book was. It's like a book of quotes.
They're mowing the lawn next door to us.
Oh, they do that all the time. You got to close this door so the grass don't fly in. But yeah, those would be some of my favorite books. Yeah.
Right on. 2 things you have coming up. I know you're going to Jiu-Jitsu Con.
Yep. I'm going to Jiu-Jitsu
Quickly
Con.
tell me about that.
So Jiu-Jitsu.
What you know of it?
Yeah, so Jiu-Jitsu Con is the event they do with the World Masters in Vegas, which is the biggest Jiu-Jitsu tournament in the world.
Right.
Right. So they bring different teams for free seminars. So if you sign up for the tournament, you kind of are able to sign up for this like big event where they've had like Roger Gracie, Buchecha, all the best of the best come out to do seminars. And so Julio called me a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of had to keep this on the down low because he told me not to say anything until it was kind of out in the open. But he said, what would you think about doing the...
Hope it's okay to talk about it.
Oh, no, it is. It's out on social media now. So he said, what would you think about doing the Jiu-Jitsu Con seminar? And I was like, really, I was kind of like blowing back, right? Like I was like, well, yeah, of course.
Amazing.
And so it's I didn't think they would ever invite me to do that, but I guess I met the curriculum, because the thing is you've got to have like a world title at the black belt level, either at the master's level, I think Master 1, or at the adult level. And so they want to like bring new guys every year. So Jaime was Jaime was the year before, I think. And then Vitor was the year before that. And then my name came up, and Julia was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to do the seminar there. And then I'm going to Brazil in a couple of weeks too, to do a training camp and stuff like that. I got some tournaments coming up over the year. So
when you teach a seminar, like real quick, like there, do you have something in mind that you want to do, or you just kind of judge the room and go?
There, I will probably go with a little bit of a plan.
Right.
But 99% of the time, I never go with a plan. I just wing it.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to read the room. Like a lot of times, like I would go in with a plan, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to show fishnet from reverse half guard. I'd show something like really advanced. I'd go in and I'd be like, oh man, there's a bunch of white belts in the room.
Yeah.
So right now, like that's where I kind of learned just to like do the trade of doing seminars, that like I read the room. But it's funny, like I go to Asia a lot to do seminars. I go to Japan, I go to Korea a lot, I go every year. And the Asian guys it's different the way they market the seminars. So they want to know what the set move list is. They want to have a little description of every move.
Right.
Because they use that to promote the seminar.
Okay.
Right? So they'll put like little videos out and stuff. But I have to have like a theme and a move list of when I'm going to go teach there. But that's the only time that I ever really kind of plan something. But there I'll definitely have something planned out for what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Excellent. And the other thing is you are hosting your instructor.
Yeah, we're going to have the GF team.
Is that his first time in Canada? Or
no, he's been to Calgary a couple of times with me before.
Okay.
But we're going to do the GF team conference here, Canada conference. Last year we had 25 instructors from all across Canada. We had people from Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, I don't think we had anybody from British Columbia, Saskatchewan, all over Atlantic Canada. They came out and we did this instructors training course, which I think is super important because there's so much responsibility as an instructor, like things that can go wrong in the gym and things that that a lot of us, we try to learn on the fly, and hopefully that it works out for the best. But Julio comes in and we have a part about how to teach just like the rolling. That's the first section, right? And that's super important. Like you're getting flipped, you're getting thrown. Knowing how to do a good front roll and keep yourself safe is extremely important, right? We do that, how to build a beginner's curriculum. We do first aid. We do an IBJJF rules seminar.
So it's not just a seminar.
No, it's like a 6-hour thing, right?
Wow.
And then we're going to do a free seminar for anybody who does the course the next day with Julio, and we'll open up the seminar to other people as well.
Yep.
And he'll do the seminar on the Sunday. So the instructor's course will be on the Saturday, and then we'll have him for a jiu-jitsu seminar on the Sunday.
Which will open up to people.
Yeah, for everybody, yeah.
Okay.
And then it'll be, we're gonna do that. He's gonna be here for about 6 days with us. So I'm sure I'm gonna have him here in the gym.
Yeah.
He's a mat rat like me. He likes being in the gym a lot. I'm sure I'll have him in for some of the kids classes and the adults classes. He loves just coming in and sparring and being, he's always been really involved with with the youth programs in GF Team too, so I think a lot of our kids are really excited. They always ask me about the belts, like, how long does it take to be a red and white belt, right? So they always ask that, and I think he'll be the first ever red and white belt to ever come to Atlantic Canada.
Yes.
Yes, because I don't think Hickson was a red and white belt when he was here. I think he was a coral belt.
And Henzo wasn't either.
No, Henzo wasn't either. I think Henzo was the coral as well, or maybe we had 6 degrees on the belt, right? So he'll be the first ever red and white belt, and to be here, and he's on top of being like the best coach I've ever had, just somebody I look at as a mentor on and off the mat. He's a man of great character. I've been with the guy for 16 years, and I've never seen him do anything where I'm like, other than being like, oh man, I have a tremendous amount of respect for this dude. So yeah, it'll be great to have him here, and I always love getting to spend time with him, right?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Jake, Buddha was in your blood, man.
Thank you,
There's
brother.
no question. Real quick, if you don't mind, I'm going to take my camera, and you can really fast run off what you got over there.
For sure.
Even just say this was, and just go as quick as you can. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Sure, no worries about
that. I never had a plan when I show up for these little interviews.
I think they work the best that way, though.
Yeah,
it was good. It gelled everything,
so many
right?
things, but anyway, just amazing.
My pleasure, sir.
So it was me and Jake and this crazy fly that you probably seen flying around us the whole time.
He was around to the gym when we were fighting. When I was getting my body work done, he was flying all over me.
Okay, guys, we're gonna do this real quick. Sorry, this is so ghetto, but